And thank you for tuning in. This is your host, Bishop Bowser, and we have a good one for you this morning. I'm very excited. We have Council Member Myrtle Cole of District Number 4 with us today. And our topic is a heart-to-heart conversation with Council Member Myrtle Cole. So we thank her. Thank you for being on the show with us. And we're going to get right into this interview in a little bit. But as you all know, I like to give a little commentary before we get started. And I have a black inspiration for you today. And it comes from Malcolm X. And the title of what I'm going to read some excerpts from is called The Ballot or the Bullet. And it was delivered on April 12th, 1964 in Detroit, Michigan. This speech is in the public domain, originally obtained from the Vincent Voice Library at Michigan State University. And so he gave this speech on April the 12th, 1964, and it's right before his death also. But the amazing thing when you hear some of the excerpts from this is that, what was going on in 1964, we still have issues today in 2016. And so it's time for us, people of color, to wake up in the community and start, taking control and power of our communities. And so here it goes, and I quote, and this is what Malcolm X said, and I quote, "The political philosophy of black nationalism only means that the black man should control the politics and the politicians in his own community. The time when white people can come in our community and get us to vote for them so that they can be our political leaders and tell us what to do and what not to do is long gone. By the same token, the time when that same white man, knowing that your eyes are too far open, can send another Negro into the community and get you and me to support him so he can use him to lead us astray, those days are long gone. The political philosophy of black nationalism only means that if you and I are going to live in a black community, and that's where we're going to live, because as soon as you move out of the black community into their community, it's mixed for a period of time, but they're gone and you're right there all by yourself. We must understand the politics of our community, and we must know what politics is supposed to produce. We must know what part politics play in our lives, and until we become politically mature, we will always be misled, led astray, or deceived or maneuvered into supporting someone politically who doesn't have the good of our community at heart. So the political philosophy of black nationalism only means that we will have to carry our own program, a political program, a re-education to open our people's eyes, make us become more politically conscious, politically mature, and then we will, whenever we get ready to cast our ballot, the ballot will be, we will cast for a man of the community who has the good of the community at heart. The economic philosophy of black nationalism only means that we should own and operate and control the economy of our community. You can't open up a black store in a white community. White men won't even patronize you, and he's not wrong. He's got sense enough to look out for himself. You're the one who don't have sense enough to look out for yourself. The white man is too intelligent to let someone else come and gain control of the economy of his community. But you will let anybody come in and take control of the economy of your community. Control the housing, control the education, control the jobs, control the business, under the pretext that you want to integrate. No, you're out of your mind. The economic philosophy of black nationalism only means that we have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing that when you spend your dollar out of the community in which you live, the community in which you spend your money becomes richer and richer. The community out of which you take your money becomes poorer and poorer. And because these Negroes who have been misled, misguided, or are breaking their necks to take their money and spend it with the man. The man is becoming richer and richer, and you're becoming poorer and poorer. And then what happens? The community in which you live becomes a slum. It becomes a ghetto. The conditions become run down. And then you have the audacity to complain about poor housing in a rundown community. Why you run it down yourself when you take your dollar out? And you and I are in a double track. Because not only do we lose by taking our money someplace else and spending it, when we try to spend it in our own community, we're trapped because we haven't had sense enough to set up stores and control the business of our community. The man who is controlling the stores in our community is a man who doesn't look like we do. He's a man who doesn't even live in the community. So you and I, even when we try and spend our money in the block where we live or in the area where we live, we are spending it with a man who, when the sun goes down, takes that basket full of money in another part of the town. So we're trapped, double trapped, and triple trapped. Anywhere we go, we find that we're trapped. And every kind of solution that someone comes up with is just another trap. But the political and economic philosophy of black nationalism, the economic philosophy of black nationalism shows our people the importance of setting up these little stores and developing them and expanding them into larger operations. Woolworth didn't start out big like they are today. They started out with a dime store and expanded and expanded and then expanded until today. They are all over the country and all over the world. And they get to some of everybody's money. General Motors, the same way. They didn't start out like it is. It started out just a little rat race type operation. And it expanded until today it's where it is right now. And you and I have to make a start. And the best place to start is right in the community where we live. End of quote. So before I open up with my interview with Myrtle Cole, Council Member Myrtle Cole, I want to read to you a brief bio of her. Council Member Myrtle Cole was sworn in as a member of the San Diego City Council on December 10, 2014. She is the first African American woman elected to serve on the City Council and the first woman to represent the 4th Council District. Myrtle has worked in the 4th District since 1977, has lived in the Rolando Park community for more than 20 years. Myrtle attended the University of Arizona and then joined the Tucson Police Department. She moved to San Diego to continue her career in policing, rising to the rank of lieutenant with the San Diego Community College District Police Department. After 11 years as a police officer, Myrtle pursued and obtained an MBA from National University. Shortly thereafter, Myrtle accepted a position with the San Diego City Council to help implement community-oriented policing. Continue her community advocacy, Myrtle worked with Deputy Mayor George Stevens and Councilmember Charles Lewis and Tony Young. Immediately prior to her first election, Myrtle worked with the United Domestic Workers Union, who provides in-home service to thousands of low-income seniors, children, and people living with disabilities. Thank you, Councilmember Myrtle Cole, for being on What's Happening Now.
Thank you, Bishop, for having me.
Yes, it's good to have you. Good to have you. Man, you know, reading your bio, so you go all the way back to 1977, huh?
Yes, I do. Being here in 1977, it was a great transition to be here, working with the community college district. It was fun. I had some people working for me that moved on to, for instance, Boyd Long was assistant chief of the police department. He worked for me. There's a young lady by the name of Susie de la Puña. She worked for me, and she's now a police officer. We had some great young people working for me, and they went on to bigger and better things, and I'm really proud of that, working for the San Diego Community College District.
So where are you originally from?
I'm from Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Born and raised in Tucson, Arizona. Yeah, that's where I was a police officer. Went to high school there, junior high school, everything.
Okay.
And also attended the U of A, University of Arizona.
Wow.
And where they recruited me from that. I was working on a degree in psychology, and they asked me to be a police officer because they did not have any black females.
All right.
And I said, "Are you kidding? No, no, I didn't want to, but I had friends, black police officers, who said, Myrtle, you need to do this. And they kept after me and said, you have to do this. They bribed me with McDonald's French fries because at that time I loved McDonald's French fries. And so they would take me there and until I said yes. But prior to that, I was the first one that they recruited, but there was another young lady about my size, my height, and her name was Yolanda, and they asked her also. She went in before me. I said, okay, Yolanda, just let me know how it is, because I really don't want to be a police officer.
Right.
But she went into the academy. She says, Myrtle, it's great. You have to go. So I went into the next academy and was one of the spokespersons for the police department, but decided then in Tucson, Arizona, it gets up to 110 degrees.
Yeah, I know. I had a
And
cousin
so,
that lived there.
yes, and so we had to get out of the car in full uniform and hat
Wow.
in 110 degrees.
That had to be rough.
It was rough. So I said, let me do this in a cooler climate. But I loved it, but I just wanted
And
to
what year was that?
That was in 76.
Okay.
No, that was in 74. I'm
Okay.
sorry. That was in 74.
I was a fool, only 12 years old.
I'm a lot older than I look, Bishop, but we're not going to tell anybody.
You look good.
We're
Right,
not gonna
right.
tell anybody. Yeah, that was in 74, so I came here in 77 and started working with the community college district.
Wow, that's cool. Okay. And so what moved you to get involved with politics, from moving from police department to get involved in politics?
There's a person that you all know, I'm sure. His name is Greg Akili.
Yeah.
Greg Akili said, Myrtle, John Hartley, Councilmember John Hartley, is looking for someone that has a law enforcement background and someone of color.
Politics.
I know politics. As well as Charles Lewis, I was his campaign manager, as well as Tony Young. So it's in my blood. Politics is in my blood. I didn't think I was going to be a council member, though. That was not on my bucket list to do. I just was not. I just wanted to be behind the scenes, making things happen, putting great leaders.
All right, welcome back to What's Happening Now on KBOKradio.com, and thank you for staying with us. And we still have Council Member Myrtle Cole with us, and we're interviewing and talking with her. And she was just sharing with us a little bit how she got involved in politics, and her history and her experience go way back, from unions to politics and so on. So they were telling you that, when Council Member Young stepped out of office and no one was there, so they said, you need to run.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what was your thinking back then, as far as running?
Well, again, I knew the district and I knew what it needed. I worked in another district and I saw things happening. I saw development happening. I saw things like infrastructure happening in other districts and not ours.
Right,
and it just sort of bothered me. Why aren't we getting the same resource and services as the other districts?
Exactly.
So that was on my heart. But I don't know if anyone else saw what I saw, but I enjoyed working with UDW. I enjoyed working with home care providers. And I really didn't want to leave them. But again, I think God tells you where you need to be.
Amen.
So it was not my choice.
God called.
God called me to do this. It was not Myrtle.
Amen.
So I obeyed, and the rest is history. This is a good time to be in politics because the economy is better. We're working together as a team. The mayor is really wanting every district to succeed, including
District 4.
District 4. Including this. So, things are happening. We're developing. People are now interested in this district. And so things are working out well. This is a place I needed to be. This is the position I needed to be in.
All right. So since you've become council member, what has been your experience there? Is it what you thought it would be?
Okay, let me be nice.
Okay.
It's a lot more difficult in a sense than I thought. Not for making things happen, but just and like the wear and tear, the things that you need to do. Sometimes you work 7 days a week. Sometimes you work 12 hours a day.
Right.
I have a staff that is hardworking staff, but they need the council member there at certain places. So it's more than I thought. It's more than other council members that I worked for had to do because there's more demand, I guess, now than there was before.
Right.
So that's what's difficult about it. But what's good about it is that city staff, the mayor, a lot of people are working with me to make things happen. That's what's good about it. Some of the community members, might not have wanted a female to be in charge. That wasn't the thing that I I'm all, I was grown up in the 50s, so So I said, no, I'm going to do this. I'm a grown woman.
Right.
I know what I need to do. I know my challenges. So I, in spite of that, I said, I think that they'll see what I have planned for this district, and I'm hoping that they'll get on board. But it is a lot more difficult than I thought as far as getting people to understand that, women can do a lot of things and do a lot of things well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And have the passion also to make things happen. Like the George Stevens had a passion.
Absolutely.
I stand on his shoulders. I stand on Charles Lewis's shoulders because they had a servant's heart. They had the passion for this district. And I saw that, and that's what I think I have, and that's why God said put me into this position.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I know when I was involved in the union, asked me with Local 3258. I before I was a president, steward president, and so on. But the person who mentored me when they left, I got their position, was a woman. You know, she mentored me. You know, as far as becoming union activist and president and all those kind of things, guided me through the whole process. So women, are powerful women. They right there with us,
Absolutely.
equal with us.
Absolutely,
So
like Dr.
I don't even see a woman or man like with you running for. I don't see that. I just see Myrtle Cole. Who are you, and what can you do?
Right.
That's kind of the way I see it.
I understand that perfectly.
I care less about any of that.
Just
yes.
what my results are.
Exactly.
What my results are, and that's what I care about.
Exactly.
What my results.
Exactly.
I want to leave this district better than I found it.
That's right. Now let me ask you a question before we get. Cause I want to ask you some questions about community policing. But so you have another term after this term?
Yes.
Are you going to run?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's what I was confused
I have 6 years. I got 6 more years.
That's what I thought.
2018.
Yeah.
I got to finish out what I started.
Because I was hearing something about she's done after this and so on. I'm like, okay, she quitting. When?
See, that's the rumors that you don't listen to rumors.
So I'm glad we cleared that up.
You don't listen to
so you're
rumors.
gonna run again. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you know if you're gonna have any opposition?
I had opposition.
Whatever come out.
I had 8 or 9 people running against me
Right.
when I started. So I welcome it.
Right.
I know what I have to do, and I know why I'm in this position to do it. So
Right.
I don't mind opposition.
That'll work. So, in regards to community policing, how do you define community-oriented policing? Because I know you really been into that before I even understood the concept of it.
Community-oriented policing. Community relations officers do community-oriented policing. Community relations officers, we used to have a lot more back in the 90s. I remember when Chief Sanders was Captain Sanders. We used to meet in garages and people's homes and talked about what was happening in the neighborhood.
Right.
Was there drug house here, whatever. It was we had a relationship with the community, and the police officers had a much better relationship with the community because they actually went into the homes. They actually talked to people. They walked the neighborhoods. It was community-oriented policing.
Okay.
And it sort of stopped, and we want to get that back. We want more community relations officers.
Okay.
We have some now. We have some great ones that are community relations officers that go to each and every community meeting that you have that tells the community what's happening. They build a relationship with the police officers. They know, and the police officers know their children, know everything about their community. That's community-oriented policing, to making sure that you have a great relationship with the community, so they won't be afraid to tell you what's going on, what's happening down the street, who's doing what down the street. That relationship is being built. So we need more of that. I know the chief is saying, well, every officer should be that. Yes, they should. But they don't have time to go to every single community meeting or community council meetings, because we have a lot, especially in our district. We have a lot. And that's what they do. They go to these meetings. They talk about what's happening in the police department. They talk about what's happening in the community, and it just builds a better relationship. That's what we need. That's what every neighborhood needs. And that's what community-oriented policing is.
So now, because I agree with you that we need more community relations officers, for sure. I've heard that, back in early 2000s they had a lot, then they decreased it. But also, I what do you think about, not so much what Chief Zimmerman said, but more in the sense that police officers allot so much time in each of their workday to do community policing as far as building relationship, not responding to 911 calls. I know you have to get more police staff or officers, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But so, do you agree with that, or do you think that's necessary too?
I don't mind officers going out of their normal routine duties to do that. I mean, they should know the community that they serve. They should. But I think it's more important, though, to have community relations officers to really connect with the people, because it takes the time out of a 911 call or something, or and we don't want that necessarily. But I know that they come to different meetings, they come to council meetings with the chief, but that's taking them off the street. And when they really maybe need to be responding to different calls that they should be going to. But I want them to also know the community that they serve.
Right. They got to build relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they need to do both. But more so, if we have the officers just doing that in particular, community relations officers, I think it's a lot better for the community.
Okay, that'll work then. So, have you read Councilmember David Alvarez's report on the San Diego Police Department's officer retention crisis?
Yes, I have. Just briefly. I just briefly went through it.
So, I mean, do you have an opinion about his report?
I know that we put money into more recruitment and retention of police officers. I know that the chief now is doing a great job. They have 4 academies going. I believe all 4 academies is filled. I think about 48 people in the academy. So it's better than it was before. So we are recruiting. The chief has put advertisements in the Voice and Viewpoint community newspapers. They have advertisements on the back of their bumpers. Join the police force now. They go into the schools. So they're making more of an effort to recruit. And the retention problem is a few police officers are going to other principalities. Some are in the drop program, so they have to retire. They have to get out.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So there's reasons why there's a retention problem, but we have to sort of stop that gap, stop that leakage. But we also have to recruit from the front end. That's what they're doing. That's what the chief is doing, is making sure that the 4 academies are running, that we have all the academies full, that hopefully the majority of the people that go through the academy stay in the academy and then graduate and stay with the police department. That's what we're doing, and we're trying to increase the incentives to do that. And so I think we have a good handle on it. I think it's going to improve the way that they are recruiting. I think it's working. And like I said, we're making sure that the 4 academies are running. And they used to have, I think, 3 at one time, and now, like we said, we increased that to 4, and making sure that every seat in there is taken,
right,
and that they have a good chance of graduating. And it also diversity. There's a lot of women now that are being recruited and that are going into the police academy. That's a good thing.
Yes, it is.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the graduates, because we speak to them. Right when they get ready to go to the streets or what have you, they graduate, and so we get an opportunity to talk with them about community engagement and things like that. So, and I have seen a little bit more diversity, and so hopefully they'll hang on in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, do you believe that explicit bias exists within the San Diego Police Department? And for our listeners, explicit bias is a conscious bias about certain populations based upon race, gender, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, or other attributes. And so, do you think that exists? I mean, that's straightforward versus implicit bias.
Yes.
Okay.
It does. I have to say, it does. But you have to know that you have some biases, that you're working on.
Right.
If you work on yourself, I think it's a good thing. So it does exist, but I believe that if you're conscious enough to say, I'm going to make sure that I don't carry that out in the street with me. I want to make sure that I treat everyone with respect and dignity.
Right.
Then if you work on yourself, I think it would be good. I think we all have biases.
Right.
We all have them.
Right. So they have to create a culture within the police department.
Right, to address it. And I know that they have bias training. They go through that. So I know, and matter of fact, I think they used to go to different districts and communities and show you their bias training. So it's something that they're working on. It's just something in the culture of the police department, but I believe that they're working on it. I think it's going to be, it's being addressed. And I don't really see a problem. We just have to make sure, and the chief has to make sure that people that you stop whatever color they are, that you treat them the same, as you would treat anyone else. You make sure you don't sit them on a curve. You don't do anything like that. They stopped doing that.
Right. Right.
Make sure that you respect the person and tell, and if you have to arrest that person, then, arrest that person. But, first, give the person a chance to let him tell you what's going on, let her tell you what's going on, and don't just assume by the color of their skin that they're guilty, that they're doing something wrong.
They're not, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so when we talk about that, and because, in District 4 and in Southeast San Diego as a whole, we know that we have a lot of pretext stops where the police will follow them till they make a mistake just to pull them over. And a lot of people feel that that's not criminal profiling, that's racial profiling, and so on. And there's been a lot of mistrust between the community and law enforcement. How do we build legitimacy and trust between the San Diego Police Department and people of color?
Well, again, racial profiling was an issue, and it happened. It happened.
Yes, it does.
And so I know the chief is working with the officers to say, just because they're black, just don't pull them over because of the color of their skin.
Right.
And that's what they're working on. That's what they're trying to build that trust. Saying, no, we want to know the community. That's why we want to get out of our car so that they can see us, so we can see them and know what they're about and see what they're about. So the chief and the police officers are working on that, trying to improve the relationships. And again, racial profiling was an issue. It was happening, and now the chief is addressing that. I think the police officers are addressing that and not trying to stop everyone that's black that has a different looking car or something like that, trying to or in a different community, a black person in a white neighborhood. I mean, we live everywhere.
Right.
African Americans live everywhere. Latinos live everywhere. So just don't stop a person just because you think that they're out of their community or they're out of the area. If they're doing something wrong, absolutely, that's what your job is.
Right. Yeah, and that's part of the problem that I think in the community, not with all law enforcement, but especially if you deal with like the gang unit and so on. I have a good relationship with gang unit officers as far as lieutenants and sergeants and captains and so on, but down on the ground level, they'll stop people and say, your blinker is out, but their blinker really wasn't out. But what they wanted to do is stop that individual and harass that individual, especially then if they're on probation. They pull them out of the car, they're searching their car, they're calling the probation officer, trying to get them locked back up and things like that. I mean, these are things that I'm actually experiencing and talking with young men out there. So one of the things that I know is that there's a culture within the San Diego Police Department, especially the gang unit, to where that I don't know if they really care about, legitimacy and trust and so on. So how do we get the overall police department, including these little special units, to build a culture of legitimacy and trust where that they can begin to, and I know, it's about building relationships and things like that. Is there any way we can change that culture within the police department?
That's a deep ingrained culture, real deep ingrained. But we need to start talking about it like we're doing now.
Right. Okay.
We need to talk about it. We need to have then more town hall meetings, so that the police officers, the chief and the police officers can come and listen to what these young kids are saying that they're doing. And I wouldn't mind holding those we did hold some town hall meetings before with the chief. We need to maybe do more. Communication is a key.
Yes, it is.
We need to talk about it. Talk to each other about it. And talk to the police officers about it so that they are aware that we know what you're doing. So let's talk about it. We'll have some more town hall meetings. And I would be glad to host those.
Okay. So now here's another one, and I know you guys are kind of dealing with this a little bit, but what is your opinion about developing policies that mandate external and independent criminal investigation in cases of police use of force resulting in death, often involve shootings resulting in injury or death, or in custody?
Well, we have a Citizens Review Board that, they're handling that. We're trying to make the Citizens Review Board have a lot more power. And we had the Citizens Review Board at our public safety meeting so that we could find out what is it that you're lacking.
Right.
what do you need from us to give you more power to investigate
Right.
these things? And so they told us we're trying to make that happen. They need, I think, more funding to have more staff to make it happen. We put more, they have more diversity on their Citizens Review Board now to make sure that there's women, people of color that are on there, and making sure that also they have time to investigate these allegations,
Right.
and that's what the CRB is should be all about. That's
Right.
why we formed the CRB to investigate
Right.
the allegations of the police officers. So we need to let them do their job, and that's what we're trying to do. Give them a lot more power. Give them independent counseling, and that's what we really want. I want them to have independent counseling,
Right.
so that if there's ever any question about the city attorneys having involvement, we need to take them out of the equation and get an
Yeah, I've heard about that. So those issues.
to get independent counsel and assist the Citizens Review Board to make sure that if there's any allegations, if there's anything going wrong, that they can investigate it and get underneath it and find out what's really going on and address it.
So, with Women Occupy, and I think it's called People Against Terror or something like that. And forgive me for if they listen misquoting what your name of your organization is, but they did have some valid points in regards to the Citizens Review Board, and they made some recommendations. And I understand that the city, there's a committee that heard some of this. Are you guys going to make changes?
Well, what we're doing, matter of fact, I think what we're doing on that, there's so many things that are going on. Advocating for more transparency in the Citizens Review Board. As a first step, we brought forward a proposal that will allow the council body to be more involved in the policy decision regarding the CRB.
Okay.
And we advocated for, like I said, independent legal counsel for the CRB. If issues come up that present a conflict for the board and the city attorney, the city should contract with a law firm, like we're saying, that can represent the CRB or give them a second opinion. Also, we want annual reports from the committee, and request that more money for CRB staff and budget memo. So we're addressing, and that came before the Public Safety and Livable Neighborhoods, which I sit on.
Right.
And so we addressed it. The Women Occupy was there. The Citizens Review members were there, and they just gave us input of what we need to do to make it better, so that they can have a lot more power and authority.
Okay. And I hold them accountable.
Yes,
so appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So how? And you mentioned diversity within the San Police Department. I've seen a little bit of that happening with the academies of the graduates. So how do we bring more diversity in the San Diego Police Department and help them to be continuously creative with recruitment efforts and employ the public, business, and civic community to help? Because I know the Sheriff Department, they do a good job with recruitment, and they go to other states and cities recruiting.
I know that, like I said, the police department, they did advertising in the Voice and Viewpoint. They did recruitment at Jacobs. They had a huge recruitment effort at Jacobs, in the heart of the 4th Council District. So they're doing things like that. I'm sure that the police chief possibly will go outside and maybe go to Arizona. There, like you said, I think some people are going to Arizona, different places to recruit. There's not too many black folks in Arizona. I'm just saying, because I come from Arizona. I come from Tucson. I come from Arizona.
You got to go places like Detroit,
to get true people of color. But I believe that like I said, there's a lot more women than ever before. So I believe they're making an effort to do that, and we just have to continue to work with them, work with the chief to make sure that she knows, and she knows that I want diversity. I mean, without a doubt, the chief knows I need and want diversity on the police force, and
especially in our communities.
Especially in our community. So I think they're making a great effort. They just need to continue it, and whatever the chief needs me to do, I will do. They need to go into the school. I think they're going into the schools to talk to the young people about getting into the police department. And they're doing everything that they can. And if it takes going outside of the city, then they need to go outside of the city. And we'll talk to the chief about that. But I think they're doing a great job. I talked to the captain, the interim captain of Southeastern Division. and asked him, how's it going? And he thinks it's going, great. So we're going to just continue to see the effort, to see the people that they pull in. I'm going to always watch.
Right.
I'm going to always know, and I will always talk about it.
Right.
If there's not people that I'm seeing that look like me, in there, or females, I will say something, and the chief knows that. But I think she's making a great effort.
Okay, well, good. So let's move on. Talk about the mayor a little bit if we can, and some things that I've observed. The mayor has been talking about bringing business and more development into District 4. Does that include people of color, and if so, how?
Well, first, what we did a tour. Back, I think it was 2014, we did a developers tour, a bus tour, where we met at the Jacobs, where we put developers that had never stepped foot in the 4th District onto a bus. It was 80 people. We had to turn away some folk because we pumped it up so much, and the mayor pumped it up so much to get on board this train because we're moving out. And we had 80 developers and business people on there. We went throughout the district, and the developers saw the opportunity. We're not landlocked. We have opportunities. So to say that he's going to continue to encourage developers to come into this district to develop. Now, I don't care what color. I want development here. Now, as far as laborers, I want to see people of color, in there. But if you have a developer, like we have Chelsea, we have Barnhart, we have different developers that are working on the library. We have people of color working on the Skyline Hills Library, but Barnhart is a white developer. But we encourage that, but what we also encourage is that they hire people of color, local people that live in this district. And that's what they're doing. Chelsea, you see some development going on Imperial. That was Robert Ito and Chelsea. The people that are working there are people of color, and that's what we want to see. We want development here, but then we want them to hire locally. Right. See, that's the key. And if there's any black developers, we had a black developer at the temporary Skyline Hills, not Skyline Hills, but Skyline, the fire station.
Okay.
On Skyline and Sidecar.
And they're developing that?
When they did the interim fire station, I believe, what was the name? We had a contractor that was black contractor that was developing the interim fire station on Skyline Hills fire station. So we did that, and we're encouraging developers. If there are any black contractors or developers, let us know. But right now, there are more white developers, but we just want those developers to hire subcontractors that look like us. Yeah,
and but with that, at least my opinion is, I'm not an expert in all of this, just a layman. But when white developers come into our communities, I don't think they really have the community at heart. It's about money for them. And and I understand that, because you got to make money to have business. But as far as when you talk about affirmative action and you talk about black developers, I think affirmative action goes further than just opening the door and welcome people, but it should get out there and recruit some folks, some black businesses and so on. And I think part of it is our problem as a people of color, is that we don't get into those businesses and run those businesses. So we need to, start doing that also, so that we are in control, we are running, we are doing what we need to do in our community.
Absolutely, and so on. Absolutely.
So now, the scary thing when you talk about here, the mayor talking about development in our community, Southeast, District 4, District 8, District 9, and so on, is, get kind of afraid, because you start thinking, okay, what are they really doing here? And so, what is your opinion, or what do you think the difference is between neighborhood improvements and gentrification?
Right now, let me just tell you some facts.
Okay.
2014, they did a survey. District 4 spent $1.9 billion in spending power. Over $1 billion of those dollars went outside of our district. For groceries, for restaurants, for retail, for drugstore, for automotive. So, that tells you that we don't have those things in this district.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to do, is bring those things in our district. bring the grocery stores, bring the restaurants, because people will spend money, but they're spending it outside of our district. So we want those resources, those services in our district, so that we could spend our own money in our own district, and other people can come and spend their dollars in this district. So we encourage development. We encourage. Right now, we're working on Euclid and Hilltop. We're looking to have mixed use right there. We have two, I believe, developers that are being chosen right now by Civic San Diego to do mixed use, to do retail, restaurants. We need those retail and restaurants in our district. I don't care what they look like. We need to spend money in our district, because we're spending money outside of our district. We're going to Lemon Grove, we're going to National City, we're going to District 9, District 3, because we don't have those services. I want those services here in this district because we don't have them.
So when an individual, let's say, Rite Aid or whatever, Green, what they call that other one, Walgreens.
Which we just put up the first Walgreens in our district.
So when people go there and shop and they spend money in that store, how does that translate or transfer into dollars being spent on our community where it benefits the community?
Well, it recycles. I mean, the dollars recycle right here in this community. Instead of going to La Jolla, where my tax dollars are spent there, it's being spent right here. We need those tax dollars.
But do they count those tax dollars for, say, like if they charge taxes for the Walgreens, or somebody buys some things there and they tax it, so are those tax dollars counted for District 4 or the city as a whole, or how does that work?
That's a good question. I'm not sure of that answer, or how much is being charged here, but I would still rather have those dollars being spent here, because we know at least some of it is being spent here. When it goes out, we know none of it is being recycled in this community, because it's recycled in Lemon Grove or National City. So we know that some of it has to be recycled here in this district.
And I understand that, and I think the important thing, this is just me, I don't know nothing, I'm just a layman, but I'm just shooting, I shoot off at the mouth. But one of the things that I feel is that, like the stores like Walgreens and some of these other businesses, when they come in Starbucks, if black people don't own those businesses, then it's not going into the black community, and from the perspective of, because like money you spend at Walgreens, they take that money somewhere else. Now the employees, if people work there, that's fine, but I think what's more important is small businesses. And these small businesses should be people of color in the communities, like District 4, District 8, District 9, because then we're building economic power within our communities when we have black folks and Latinos owning businesses in the community, and it's getting promoted and supported by the mayor and the city council office in a sense of to develop, to start the business, and so on, and be successful, and get the community to buy. And then I think and then if they live in our communities, then that money is being recycled and so on. And with the mayor, my concern with the mayor's plan is that it doesn't look like it's really going to benefit the black community, but his business partners or whoever he's bringing in, it'll benefit them more than it'll benefit the community of color.
Well, again, the mayor's not really bringing it. It's like Jacobs is bringing in, Civic San Diego is bringing it in. The mayor is helping us. He says, Myrtle, if you want them, I'll advocate for you. But also, just remember, we have a Diamond Business Improvement District. We have about 300 or 400 businesses that have been here forever.
Right.
But $1 billion is still going outside of our district. We have a Diamond Business Improvement District. We have businesses. We have black businesses.
We have to create it, yeah.
Right.
Push it and support.
We have to have options. We have to have choices. We have to have more people coming here to spend their dollars on the Walgreens as well as the smaller businesses. But they're still, again, spending their dollars outside of our district, even though we have about 300 or 400 businesses here in our district.
Right. So I want to move on because we run out of time. We only have a few more minutes left, but I want to be fair to you, because I know there's been some things said dealing with the assault at Lincoln High School on the school police officer. It brought a lot of attention to your district. And I personally experienced and seen it myself that your staff was involved in the incident from the very beginning. First meeting we had, I know Jimmy was there and so on. And but I've heard people say, "Where's Councilmember Myrtle Cole concerning the Lincoln High School incident?" What would you say to these critics?
Well, first of all, I would say that when it happened, Cindy Martin called me that day, and I knew about the meeting. I could not be there. I have 153,000 people that I have to oversee. I could not be there, but I had my chief of staff, my right hand, to go there. That's why I have staff.
Right.
Because I cannot be everywhere.
Exactly.
At all times. I cannot do that.
Exactly.
But I trust Cindy Martin. I trust Sharon Whitehurst Payne to make the right decisions, and they communicated with me almost on a daily basis, or with Jimmy on a daily basis. We knew what was going on.
Right.
So even if I'm not there, I know what's going on.
Right. Right.
Trust me, I know what's going on.
Right.
And again, I told Cindy, I trust you to do the right thing. I trust Sharon to do the right thing. She was appointed in that position. I trust her to have a handle on it, and they did. And I think the outcome was good. It was a devastating thing that happened, and I'm glad that the students didn't really get hurt in a sense. The officer was in the hospital for about 4 days or so, which was a tragedy. I've been a police officer. I know sort of what goes through your mind.
Right.
But I'm glad that no one was tragically hurt.
Exactly.
Was killed. That was the only thing that I wanted to know.
And that could have happened too.
And that could have happened, but it didn't.
Right. Absolutely.
Pepper spray. Hey, or being tased, it's not going to kill you. Yeah. It's not going to kill you. And I'm glad that didn't happen. Did it have to increase to that level? I don't know. I was not there.
Right.
But I heard the circumstances play fighting. I know when I was going to school in the 50s, we didn't play.
Oh, you telling on yourself?
I don't. Hey,
go to school in the 50s.
we didn't play anything except volleyball. Or we didn't use the word fight at all. So, we have to sort of teach our kids, you gotta, not do that.
Go to school to learn.
Go to school to learn. That's why you're going to school, not to play.
Right.
Not to fight, but to learn. So that's what we have to teach our kids. And I think the principal is a great principal, that the brother that's there.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's excellent.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people praise him. Yeah.
A lot of people praise him. And I'm glad that he has a chance to work it out, and that the kids will continue to go to school. That's what Cindy was saying. So that was my thing. Are they going to continue to go to school? Don't suspend them.
Right.
I want them to have their education. They made a mistake.
Right.
But let's move on with this. This is a teaching moment.
Right.
Let's not have this again.
Exactly. Yeah, and so I most definitely would say in regards to that is that I'm with you. And if your staff is there, I'll just take a step further than what you said, is that if your staff is there, you are there.
Absolutely.
You are there. And so I didn't take no offense to that, because I understand how that worked with delegated authority and so on. We got a few seconds left. Do you have anything else you want to add or say?
Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for being on.
It's my pleasure. Again, I'm excited about the work that we're doing. I'm excited about the things that we've done. We're underlining utilities. We're paving streets. We're building sidewalks on Market Street. We're building sidewalks that have never been built. We're doing things like that has never been done. That's what I want to do. I want to leave this district
Keep up the good work.
So much better than I found it.
And thank you. You're doing a good job, and we appreciate everything you do. We know we can always come to you. You stand with us every time, so we appreciate you. And thank you for coming on, and look forward to another one. Another great show with you.
Absolutely.
In the near future.
Thank you, Bishop.
So I want to thank all my listeners for tuning in to what's happening now on KBLKradio.com. And don't forget to tune in next week for another great show on KBLKradio.com at 9 a.m. every Sunday. Don't forget to come by church and visit us at 610 South 30th Street, San Diego, California, 92113. On Saturdays at 11:30. Come on by and check us out. All right, God bless you. Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to hearing from us again next Sunday. God bless.